welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a massive social experiment that's playing out right now across the Arab world. It's a brand new bargain being struck with an entire generation, one designed to capture all their ambition, while at the same time heading off any dissent. So, first things first, let's unpack the incredible pressure that forced this whole strategic shift. You see, this wasn't really a choice for the leaders in the region. It was a demographic reality they just couldn't ignore anymore. Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. It all boils down to this one question. What do you do when you have this huge wave of young people, the most educated, most globally connected generation in history, and there are just no jobs for them? Where does all that frustrated energy go? Well, just over a decade ago, we saw exactly what happens. That pent-up frustration just detonated, and it fueled the Arab Spring. It was this incredible wave of instability, all driven by young people with degrees but no futures, and it toppled governments. Now, a new generation of leaders watched all of that happen. They took notes, and they are determined not to let it happen again. And what's so critical to understand here is that this wasn't some far-off threat. Even in a country as rich as Saudi Arabia, the very same ingredients that kicked off the 2011 uprisings were just simmering below the surface. So for leaders like Mohammed bin Salman, this wasn't some abstract problem. It was a ticking time bomb in their own backyard. So how did they respond? Well, they engineered a completely new kind of deal. And the goal wasn't to crush all that youthful energy. No, the idea was to redirect it, to steer it away from the messy, unpredictable world of politics and channel it into an arena that the state could build and control. And this slide right here just lays out the game plan perfectly. It's a very deliberate pivot. See, the new dream isn't about young people marching for political rights. It's about young people competing to build the next killer startup. The message couldn't be clearer. Put your energy into the market, not into politics. So you really have to see this new bargain as a two-for-one package deal. On one hand, you've got the promise of this dazzling, high-tech economic future. And on the other, you have a new social contract that completely redefines what freedom even means for this generation. So let's break down how each piece of this actually works. All right, let's start with that first pillar, the promise of incredible economic opportunity. This whole vision has been so carefully crafted to capture the imagination of a generation that is just starving for a future that works. And, this promise was made loud and clear. Leaders like MBS didn't just talk about small policy changes. They went out and publicly declared a revolution, promising to turn their countries into modern global powerhouses. It was a message tailor-made for young people who see themselves on the world stage. But to make this dream feel real, to make it seem different from all the broken promises of the past, they brought in the big guns. Global consulting firms like McKinsey were hired to write the master plans. It gave the whole thing a stamp of legitimacy, It made it sound like a serious global business plan, not just another political speech. And of course, to make an idea this big feel tangible, you need some spectacular symbols. We're talking about mind-blowing mega projects like the city of Neom, but also massive investments in global tech and entertainment. Every single one of these sends a clear message. The future is about merit, it's about global connection, not the old-school bureaucracy that failed your parents. Okay, now for the second pillar of the bargain, which you could argue is the more clever and maybe more powerful part of this whole deal. This is that carefully managed trade-off, a huge expansion of social freedom in exchange for keeping quiet politically. The speed of this change was just incredible. You have to understand, we're talking about decades of really strict social rules, stuff that was put in place back in the late 70s and 80s, just gone, practically overnight. Public concerts, movie theaters, women driving, things that were literally illegal a few years ago are suddenly the new normal. So here's the deal, right? It's aimed squarely at a huge youth population that's hungry for consumer culture. You get Netflix, you get music festivals, you get a social life that looks like the one you see online. And the trade-off? You stay out of politics. Freedom is redefined as the freedom to choose what you buy and what you watch, not who gets to govern you. But this amazing prize of new freedoms and all this opportunity, well, it comes with a very steep, unwritten price. There are bright red lines, and the consequences for crossing them are designed to be swift and absolute. And this is where the bargain gets its razor-sharp edge. Because this offer isn't unconditional. Oh no, there's a catch, and believe me, it is a big one. So what's actually been created here is a stark, dual-track system. Two different realities, running side by side. If you're part of the quiet majority who accepts the deal, there's a world of new opportunities opening up for you. But for anyone who even thinks about testing the political boundaries, well, there's a parallel system of intense surveillance and harsh repression waiting for them. One path leads to a startup incubator. The other leads straight to a prison cell. And if you need an example, this is it. Just 2 weeks after MBS unveiled his new open vision to the world, the state launched this shocking crackdown. Hundreds of the country's most powerful men were rounded up and held in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. The official story was anti-corruption, but everyone got the real message loud and clear. This is about absolute power, and there are limits to this new bargain. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative question. Can a social contract that's built on Netflix and startups permanently satisfy a generation's need for a real voice, for real dignity? Or is this grand bargain just kicking a much bigger problem down the road? That, right there, is the multi-trillion-dollar question that's going to define the future of the Middle East.